Okay, lesson 1, the workbook. We're going to start with question 10 and then work our way back. Alright, so a parabola has a focus of f negative 6, 6, and a directrix of x equals negative 8. P, x, y represents any point on the parabola, while D, negative 8, y represents any point on the directrix. The following is Marcel's work. Step 1, FP equals DP, and the square root of quantity x minus negative 6 squared plus the quantity of y minus 6 squared is equal to the square root of x minus negative 8 squared plus y minus y squared. Step 3, x squared plus 12x plus 36 plus y squared minus 12y plus 36 equals x squared plus 16x plus 64. Step 4, y squared minus 12y plus 8 equals 4x. Step 5, negative 1/4 y squared minus 3y plus 2 equals x. Identify each incorrect step. Select all answer choices that both state an incorrect step and explain why it is incorrect. If there is only one incorrect step, select only and the answer choice that states and explains the incorrect step. Okay, so they want to find the incorrect step, so let's go through and do our own work for the correct step. So they're trying to write the equation of a parabola, and a parabola has the focus and parabola. So the focus to parabola, that distance is going to equal the distance from the directrix to the parabola. So in this case, say this is our parabola P, and this is the point PXY that was given. And say we had a focus here. The focus is right here. The focus is this point, F. And this distance, FP, the focus to the parabola, is got to equal, and our directrix is going to be somewhere over here, this distance from the same point to the directrix. Those two have to be the same, and that's our D point. So F to P, that distance has to be equal to the distance from P to D, and that's what the first step said. So far step 1 is accurate. So step 2, we have the distance formula. So let's use our FP. What is the distance formula? So there's a point for F. F is negative 6, 6, and point P is XY. It represents any point on the parabola. So let's find our distance for FP. So the distance is going to equal the square root of our horizontal distance, or our x ones. So let's use our x's, and we're going to start off with point P. So we're going to have x minus a negative 6 being squared plus our vertical distance, and since we started with point P first, we're going to start with point P again, so y minus 6 squared. So let's check in that very first step, this should have parentheses, to make sure that this side FP on the left is correct. So we have the square root of x minus negative 6 being squared plus y minus 6 being squared. Okay, so far the left side is correct. So now let's find our distance for, I'm I'm going to give some room there. Let's find our distance from the directrix to the parabola. So the directrix, we had the point -8 y, and our parabola point is xy. So we're finding the distance again of that length. So that is going to equal the square root of our horizontal distance, which is x. We're going to start with point P, so x minus -8, the other x coordinate, that's finding our horizontal distance, plus y from our P, and the y coordinate from our point D, minus y being squared. Okay, so now let's check and make sure that the work for dp is correct. So we have the square root of x minus -8 being squared plus y minus y squared. Alright, so step 2 is correct. Now let's do step 3. Step 3 looks like a lot of gibberish right now, but what they in fact did is they simplified everything underneath the square root sign. So let's do that. So d is going to equal, this minus a -6 turns into a plus, and then when we have x plus 6 being squared, what that means is we have x plus 6 times x plus 6. So that's what's happening here. And so in order to multiply these, we distribute. So it's x times x, which is x squared. Don't forget the square root sign. X times 6 is a 6x. I'm going to write that right here. And then we're going to have 6 times x is another 6x. And then we're going to have 6 times 6, which is 36. And that's how you would distribute. So then we're going to combine like terms. X squared in like terms is 6x and 6x, which 6x plus 6x gives us a total of 12x. So x squared plus 12x plus 36. Alright, let's check so far. So we have an x squared plus 12x plus 36. So far, so good. So now we have to distribute the other one, and I'm going to erase right here so I can show my work again right there. And again, y minus 6 being squared means y minus 6 times y minus 6. And we distribute. So y times y is y squared. Y times -6 is -6y. And then we do it to the other ones. -6 times y is a -6y. And -6 times a -6 is a positive 36. So then let's combine like terms, and -6y minus a 6y are the like terms, and together we have y squared minus 6y gives us a total of minus 12y plus 36. Alright, so that's what is going to go on the other side, plus y squared minus 12y plus 36. So let's make sure that the step for finding the distance from the focus to the parabola is still correct. So then we have y squared minus 12y plus 36. Alright, so far so good. So now let's do the same thing for finding the distance between the directrix and the parabola. So we're going to have d is equal to the square root of, And remember, this minus a negative 8 is going to be plus, and that squared means that we're going to take x plus 8 and multiply it by itself, which is x plus 8. And then to simplify, to multiply these, we're going to distribute. So we have x times x, which is x squared, and x times 8 is 8x. And then 8 times x is a positive 8x. And 8 times 8 is 64. Alright, so then we're going to combine like terms, and positive 8x and positive 8x are our like terms. So we have x squared plus 16x plus 64. Alright, so that is what should be in our distance formula first. So x squared plus 16x plus 64. Alright, so let's check. Do they have x squared? Yes. Plus 16x? Yes. Plus 64? Yes. Alright, so now the next step that we've got to do is our y ones. So what is y minus y being squared? Well, y minus y being squared, y minus y is 0, and we still have the square, and 0 squared is 0 times 0, which is going to equal 0. So we have this plus 0, which I don't need to write. So that is our distance for the directrix to the parabola. So step 3 is correct. Let's erase all of this and move on to step 4 and see. And then they have y squared minus 12y plus 8 equals 4x. Okay, how did they get there? Well, they have these two equations and they have them equal to each other. And I am going to need more room. So I hope you have this written down. I'm going to pull up, actually. I'm going to just do this really fast. I need a new, okay. Let's see, new. Let's just do a new blank one over here, so I have more writing room. Okay, so now we have that. Now, since we know that the distance from the focus to the parabola is the same as the distance from the directrix to the parabola, let's set these two distances equal to each other. So here's our distance from the focus to the parabola. So we have the square root of x squared plus 12x plus 36 plus y squared minus 12y plus 36. And that's going to equal the square root of, and the distance from the directrix to the parabola is the square root of x squared plus 16x plus 64. Okay, so then let's simplify anything under these. We want to be able to isolate our y's on one side and our x's on the other. So the inverse operation to square is a square root is being squared. So they undo each other, they're inverses. So the square root being squared leaves everything underneath the square root sign. So we would have x squared plus 12x plus 36 plus y squared minus 12y plus 36 is going to equal x squared plus 16x plus 64. Alright, now let's combine all of our like terms, and I'm looking for x squareds on this left side of the equal sign, and there's not any. I'm looking for any more x's on the left side, there's not any, and I'm looking for any just regular numbers. So we have 36 and 36. Those are like terms. So what is 36 plus 36? And this is how I do it in my head. Well, what's 30 plus 30? That's 60. And what's 6 plus 6? 12. So what's 60 plus 12? That's 72. So we're going to have x squared plus 12x plus 72 plus y squared minus 12y. That's going to equal, on this side, do I have any like terms? I don't have any x squareds, I don't have any more x's, and I don't have any other numbers. So nope, I don't have to combine anything on that side. So I have x squared plus 16x plus 64. Alright, so now I want to collect. Let's take a peek again really fast. I want to collect all of our y's on one side and all of our x's on the other. So let's do that. And they had x's over here and y's on this side. So we're going to first let's move our x squareds. So I have this x squared, and I'm going to match it with its like term on the other side. So this x squared is positive. When there's not a symbol by it, it is assumed to be positive, and the inverse operation would be minusing. So we're going to subtract an x squared from both sides. So x squared minus x squared leaves us as 0 plus 12x plus 72 plus y squared minus 12y equals x squared minus x squared is a 0, x plus 16x plus 64. Okay, so now let's move or gather all of our x's, and they wanted it on the right side, so I'm going to move this 12 and it's plus, so I know the opposite operation is 12x. So I'm going to subtract 12x from my x's on the right side, and then I still have 0, which I don't need to write, and then 12x minus 12x gives me a 0 again, plus 72 plus y squared minus 12y is equal to 0. I don't need to write because it doesn't change its value. And 16x minus 12x is going to give us a 4x plus 64. And if I remember, they had they only had the x's on the right side, so we're going to move our 64 to the other side, to the left side. So 64 is positive, the opposite operation is subtraction, and I'm going to do it to its like terms, which are just the numbers. So 0, I don't need to write it again because it's 0. So 72 minus 64 is going to be 8. If I am counting correctly. And then plus y squared minus 12y is going to equal, I have a 4x, and 64 minus 64 is 0. So I don't really need to write the 0 again, but that's where it went. So it went plus 0, And then we're going to rearrange this because the constants or the numbers usually are at the end. So we have y squared minus 12y. And do I connect this by addition or subtraction? Well, the 8 is positive, and so it would be an addition sign. And that equals 4x plus 0 is just 4x. So let's check and see what they have. We have y squared minus 12y plus 8 equals 4x. So let's check. I'm going to scroll this up so we can see it. So step 5 is y squared minus 12y plus 8. That's exactly what we have, equals 4x. That's exactly what we have. So step 4 is correct. So now let's check, how did they move from step 4 to step 5? Well, they divided everything by 4 because they wanted x by itself. So if I divide this by 4, divide y squared by 4, divide the negative 12 by 4, and divide the 8 by 4. I'm dividing all of the numbers by 4. And there is, I call it a ninja one. It's the implied 1 value that is in front of any variable that doesn't have a number there. So like this x squared, there's an invisible 1 there. And this y squared, there's an invisible 1 there. Mathematicians just became lazy and didn't want to write the 1, and so they implied it. And so there is a 1 there. So 1 divided by 4 is 1/4, and we have y squared still, and minus, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, and we have the y, so minus 3y, plus 8 divided by 4 is 2, and that's going to equal 4 divided by 4 is a 1, and we have x. So let's check and see what they did there. That's not what I want. I want this one. Okay, so we have a negative 1/4 y squared minus, oh, they have a negative and we have a positive. So right there, minus 3y plus 2 equals x. So step 5, they have a negative sign where there is not supposed to be one. It is a positive 1/4. I'm going to close all these. So step 5 was incorrect. So let's check. Step 5 is incorrect because the previous step is incorrect. No, step 5 is incorrect because he divided by 4 incorrectly. That's a possibility because I'm not sure where this negative sign showed up. So I'm just selecting it right now to see if there's a different one. So I'm looking for another step 5. Okay, so there's not another step 5, so it has to be that step 5 is incorrect because he divided by 4 incorrectly, because none of the other previous steps were incorrect. And so we're going to click step 5 and select only because there's only one incorrect step. We're going to submit this for grading. And great job! We did question 10 correctly. And that's how we would go through question 9. Is you would find the distance from the focus, find the distance from the focus to the parabola right here. And then, so you would again find the distance from the focus to the parabola. So F is focus, P is parabola, and you're going to set that equal to the distance that is from the directrix point to the parabola point. So then you would find the distance from the directrix to the parabola as well. And step by step through those examples. So you're going to find the distances from the focus to the parabola, and then the directrix to the parabola, which is what we did in question 10. So I hope you wrote those steps down and then just rework through those steps. And if you have any questions and would like to see this worked out again, please email me and we'll set up a live office hour, or show up to my live office hours on Thursdays.